What really inspired the piece was, looking back, my first real introduction to choral music, and it was Lyle Stutzman's In Heavenly Love Abiding, as I found out later. But was first introduced to that piece by the hymn version of it, which I think is number 136 in the Hymns of the Church, Father in Thy Mysterious Presence. And I thought about, wow, that was just such a great hymn. And then there's a choral work to go along with it that incorporates the melody. I later found out that it was kind of working backwards. He extracted the hymn from the choral work, and the choral work came first. So that was the initial motivation, is I wanted the piece to be able to stand alone as a hymn and as a choral work from the very beginning. What attracted me to the text is the contrast of ideas that is found in the piece. We have the very heavenly, the celestial, and just the very down-to-earth, human-like aspects of the text, which to me just provides that contrast that I felt I wanted to wrestle with, to get to know in a deeper way. For example, it calls Christ the man of sorrows, but then right away it talks about him returning victorious from a fight. So how do you combine those two very diametrically opposed ideas? The man of sorrows and from the fight returned victorious. And then the third verse talks about sinners in derision crowned him, mocking thus the Savior's claim. But then right away it talks about saints and angels crowd around him. The awesomeness of that is something I still can't process, really. And I don't think it's for us to be able to process such awesomeness. And then finally, hark those bursts of acclamation. Hark those loud, triumphant strains. Jesus takes the highest station. And to me, that is just so inspirational about what it should be like in my life and in our lives, as I say, what the heart of God is for his children, for Jesus to be able to take that highest place, that highest station in our life. Something that stands out to me in the text is the multidimensional aspect to it. You have the celestial, and then you have the human, the earthly to it. And then the various verses, they go back and forth between those two ideas, and then at some point they come together. And I just think that provides fertile ground for contrasting musical ideas. And at one part where it says saints and angels crowd around him, if you listen to the music, you'll see that the celestial is being painted by the upper voices, and the earthy, the human, is being portrayed by the lower voices, and then they come together at a certain point. And I just think that is such an awesome idea of eventually where there will not be this divide between the celestial and the terrestrial, but that everything will be subject to Christ and working out the perfect will of God. And it's just such a glorious future to look forward to. I'm really overwhelmed with the emotion just thinking about that future time and place when that will happen. As I was working on it, I think it's in the third verse again, one of those moments where the celestial and terrestrial come together. I thought it would be really neat to put one aspect of the text in a different key for just a little bit to really emphasize that part. And I just remember sitting there at the piano, and when I got that chord progression to lock in, I just had this moment where I just had to stop, and I think I cried a little bit because it was so emotional. I was really feeling that connection to the text happening in the music right there, and I was like, wow. I just remember my heart being filled with worship, and I just had to stop. I could not continue for some time to let that moment just do its work. I guess it's the hope of every composer that the melodies that they write end up being memorable. And I won't say that that's not the case for me, but I hope that by listening to this piece and thinking about the marriage of the text and the music, that the listeners are inspired, as the song says, to spread the victor's fame, which in essence is the Great Commission, which we as Christians are called to do. I can't find anything else that is more fulfilling in life than that. My desire is that those that appreciate music, those that like music, those that have a song in their heart, that they see composition as something accessible. I'm inspired by my 3-year-old daughter when she goes around the house just singing melodies that she comes up with. And I'm like, wow, she's doing this out of her innocence. She's not bashful about it. She's not self-criticizing. She's just doing it. And I'm so blessed by that. And I think if we adopt some of that becoming more as children, as the Bible talks about, I think what's important is as we develop our musical skill, that we also consider the childlike aspect of it, and that we keep those ideas in our mind and keep that connection. It starts with the song in your heart.